Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the fascinating world of sports psychology. I mean, we all know physical prowess is a huge deal for any athlete, right? But today, we're going to pop the hood and look at the invisible engine that truly drives performance, the mind. We'll explore how the brain dictates success on the field, and honestly, how you can take these exact same principles and apply them to your own daily life.
Okay, part 1. The mind behind the game. Let's start with a really dramatic contrast to see how high-pressure situations can just completely hijack an athlete's brain. On one side, you've got international soccer star Luis Suarez. Throughout his totally incredible career, Suarez was involved in 3 separate, highly publicized on-field biting incidents. I know, it sounds wild, right? It's this erratic, aggressive behavior that seems completely inexplicable for a pro. But then, on the flip side, we have cricket legend MS Dhoni, literally known as Captain Cool. Whether his team is chasing or defending a total, Dhoni is famous for his absolute clinical composure. He rarely loses his temper and seamlessly guides his team through the most delicate situations. So how in the world do 2 athletes at the absolute pinnacle of their sports have such wildly different psychological reactions to competition? Well, Suarez actually gave us a brilliantly honest look into what happens when the mind just gets totally overwhelmed. In his book, Crossing the Line, he explained that the adrenaline levels in a game can get so high that the brain literally cannot keep up. When his team was struggling, the pressure just kept mounting, and there was no release valve. The pent-up frustration of feeling like it was all his fault hit a boiling point where he simply couldn't contain it. It's a perfect example of intense physical adrenaline and mounting pressure causing a mental release valve to just fail completely.
But then, check out Dhoni's perspective. You might assume he just doesn't feel the pressure at all, but actually, scratch that, that's entirely wrong. Dhoni has admitted he feels the exact same things as anyone else, the frustration, the anger, the disappointment. But instead of lashing out, he funnels all that energy straight into constructive problem solving. He gets hyper-focused on the process of what needs to be done right now. He feels the heat for sure, but he manages his emotions by locking his brain onto strategy and immediate action.
Moving right along to Section 2, Defining Sports Psychology. To really get why these behavioral differences are so massive, we kind of have to trace the evolution of psychology itself. Think of it like a giant timeline. It actually started with the ancient Greeks pondering the psyche, literally meaning the soul. Then, fast forward to the late 19th century, and philosophers shifted to studying the mind and how it interacts with the world. After that, pioneers like J.B. Watson came along and said, nope, this needs to be purely scientific, focusing only on observable behaviors. And finally, we hit the modern era, where computers heavily influence the field, shifting the focus to studying cognitive processes like memory and problem solving right alongside behavior.
Now bring all of that into the athletic world. The European Federation officially defines sports psychology as an interdisciplinary science. It's basically a mashup. It draws heavily on kinesiology, the scientific study of body movement, and psychology to look at the psychological basis, processes, and effects of sport. It's a two-way street, how your mental state affects your physical performance, and equally, how participating in sports impacts your overall psychological well-being.
And we definitely have to give a massive shout out to Coleman Griffith, widely known as the father of sports psychology in North America. Way back in 1925, he established the Athletic Research Lab at the University of Illinois. This was a huge turning point. It formally put on the map that yes, psychological knowledge is absolutely crucial to address athlete performance, their overall well-being, and even the complex social dynamics of sports organizations.
Fast forward to right now, and the real-world application of this science is just incredible. For example, sports authorities are now literally sending sports psychologists on tour with teams, like the Indian women's hockey team. It's a real game changer. It's not just about taping up physical injuries anymore. These professionals are right there on the ground analyzing group dynamics during consecutive matches. They help players navigate some really heavy stuff: homesickness, loneliness, the mental trauma of an injury, or the massive emotional toll when a team just doesn't win.
Which brings us to Section 3, Applying Psychology in Sports.
So, what does this actually look like day to day? Well, to directly boost performance, sports psychologists train athletes to build serious mental toughness using specific cognitive and behavioral skills. We're not just talking about a quick pre-game pep talk here. It's rigorous training in concentration and attention control. It's precise goal setting. They use imagery training where athletes mentally rehearse their movements to perfection before they even step onto the field. And they teach cognitive behavioral self-regulation, ensuring athletes can keep their cool when their pulse starts racing, kind of like Dhoni. But hey, it's not just about snagging the gold medal. The mental health of the athlete is the absolute priority. Psychologists provide critical clinical interventions for some really severe challenges. They help athletes manage overtraining and burnout, which honestly are incredibly common. They also tackle tough, complex issues ranging from eating disorders and substance abuse to grief, depression, and the devastating identity crises that happen during athletic injury rehabs. And yes, they even work on managing the kind of aggression and violence we saw earlier with the Suarez example.
All right, Section 4, benefits for every athlete. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, that's great for the pros, but what about me? Well, the amazing thing is that these psychological benefits apply to anyone who breaks a sweat. When you work out, you are actively triggering some incredible biological and psychological perks. Cognitively, it literally improves your problem-solving abilities and strategic planning. Emotionally, it gives you a massive influx of positive feelings that directly counter depression and anxiety. And socially, whether you're in a team event or just sharing an activity, it builds really strong bonds.
Getting involved in regular exercise actually wires your brain for the better. It develops vital life skills and a sense of positivity that you take with you into your daily life. It increases your self-efficacy, which is basically that "I can totally do this" belief in yourself. That, in turn, boosts your intrinsic motivation to tackle challenges. Plus, the constant cognitive demand of playing sports actually enhances your memory and your decision-making skills. It's a total win-win.
But, and this is a big but, to get those long-term benefits, you have to keep showing up. And this is exactly why understanding your own psychology is absolutely crucial. Even if you're not a trained athlete, you need a deep psychological commitment to keep up a culture of exercise. Without tapping into your own motivation, it is so easy to lose steam, abandon your routine, and miss out on the whole shebang of physical and mental health benefits.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I've got a question for you to chew on. Take a second to look inward. What internal motivations drive your personal best performances? When you're up against a massive challenge or feeling super anxious, how do you overcome your own mental hurdles? Find out what truly drives you and ask yourself how you can use these tools to absolutely crush your next workout or life challenge. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep training that mind.
Hey everyone,